item 36. Mr. Buscaino.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. Colleagues, this is an important item before us. It was heard in the T3 committee. I want to thank my colleagues on the committee, Mr. Krikorian, Mr. Bonin, for their support of advancing the AltaSea project, and doing so by amending this lease and restating its terms to expedite project delivery. And any time the port or any entity comes to this body to expedite development and construction and project delivery, to yes, 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 it's a win-win-win for this entire city. In this case, AltaSea. Colleagues, just to remind you, AltaSea is an innovation campus at the Port of Los Angeles that's going to bring blue tech jobs to our waterfront, accelerate scientific collaboration, facilitates job creation, specifically in the blue tech industry. And what AltaSea will do will bring people together to expand science-based understanding of our ocean. AltaSea will also incubate and sustain ocean-related businesses, pioneer new ocean-related education programs. This project before us will continue to be a transformational project as we are developing the LA waterfront, diversifying our workforce, and putting the LA waterfront on the map. In addition, as you know, the San Pedro Public Market, the new ports of call, will be advanced in the next few years. Groundbreaking already took place. We're moving dirt. Shovels are in place. We're bringing in housing of all income levels. We're bringing in more retail and dining opportunities, and AltaSea will help sustain these critical development projects taking place along the LA waterfront. AltaSea also serves as key to establishing our own Silicon Harbor. Tenants include Catalina Sea Ranch, which focuses on sustainable seafood harvesting, Dr. Robert Ballard, who discovered the Titanic, Elon Musk's SpaceX, and also Boeing is very close on agreeing on an MOU that will help launch, use AltaSea to launch their Echo Voyager, which will be used to map our seafloor. At this point, I'll turn it over to our Executive Director, Mr. Gene Soroka, who is accompanied by the Director of Commercial and Real Estate Development, Mike Galvin. Let me mention something. Gene, your presence here today is important to this entire body. I recognize your presence. You are America's Port Director. You're moving our goods and doing so in a sustainable and efficient way, and also at the same time being an incredible neighbor to our port community in Wilmington and San Pedro, and an incredible neighbor to this entire region. I recognize your effort, and I know that you see this project as being a transformational project, as I mentioned earlier, and thank you for working with AltaSea and its partners, and a true P3 project, a public-private partnership that is launching out of our waterfront. I will turn it over for you for some comments, if I may, Mr. President. They have a slide presentation, then I'll land the plane with some closing comments. Mr. Soroka, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Councilman Buscaino, and we greatly appreciate your leadership in this and all areas in our harbor enclave. Mr. President, members of council, we simply would like to share with you today a true reflection of the spirit in San Pedro, Wilmington, Harbor City, Harbor Gateway, and our harbor enclave of a P3 relationship that has been developed between AltaSea and the Port and City of Los Angeles. Today with me, Mike Galvin, our Director of Commercial Waterfront Real Estate, will share with you just a little bit of our depiction and aspiration of what AltaSea will look like in the future. Mike?
Thank you, Gene. Members of council, Mike Galvin, Director of Waterfront and Commercial Real Estate with the Port of Los Angeles. As Gene mentioned, this is a transformational project of a P3 nature in the Port of Los Angeles, really revitalizing a portion of the port that has no longer been used for cargo operations for a number of years and can now be repurposed for a new project that will provide research and an innovation center in the LA waterfront and provide an opportunity to bring more and more visitors to the LA waterfront. The location is City Dock 1, located in the outer harbor of the Port of Los Angeles. It's 35 acres of land, 8 berths, 4,500 linear feet of wharf space, and 225,000 square feet of existing warehouses that will be redeveloped by AltaSea. There are several components of the project that will move forward in a staggered nature as we go on to create a marine-focused research, education, and commercial campus on the LA waterfront. The scope includes an engagement center at Berth 56, which will include public access space, really engage the public in what is going on from a research and educational perspective in the rest of the campus. The Berth 57 SCMI headquarters includes an umbrella network for all of the local universities, including the city colleges, Cal State's, UC System, Occidental, and USC, to house their marine biology research and educational programs, and will provide different educational formats and curriculum over time as the development occurs. Berth 58 through 60 is a hub for research and innovation. You will have both for-profit and nonprofit organizations there serving as subtenants of AltaSea, which will provide income to AltaSea to provide back to the port educational programming for K through 12 students. An important facet of this in the public-private partnership, in that the port is providing relatively low subsidized rent, and AltaSea is providing educational programming that will benefit the community and the region as a whole. Verse 70 and 71 is a to-be-determined development in the future, estimated about $198 million from AltaSea, an undetermined amount from the port, that will provide expansion opportunities for the development in the future. There's a public promenade throughout the facility that will really tie in the LA waterfront as it exists today to the outer harbor and through AltaSea, an important project for the port because the intent is to tie our entire 8 miles of waterfront in San Pedro together with waterfront public promenades on the water's edge. Lastly, a new project element in this project is Berth 57.5 is a new public access opportunity for construction of a wharf plaza and educational pavilion, where researchers and educators can actually engage the public in a stadium seating type environment where they can see the research going on right behind them. So I'm going to run through a couple pictures here just to show the different elements. This is the Berth 57.5 Wharf Plaza Educational Pavilion, where AltaSea will develop a stadium seating location there for researchers to provide lectures to the public and to students that are on the AltaSea campus. Berth 58 through 60 Business Hub. This is where for-profit and nonprofit operations will occur. Commercial tenants will house their innovation center in this location. The Southern California Marine Institute Science Hub will be housed in about 60,000 square feet of warehouse space to provide that curriculum and educational base for marine biology for the local universities here in Southern California. And lastly, the Engagement Center, which will tie all these pieces together and really help educate the public in what is going on in this innovation center on the LA waterfront that will really take advantage of a huge port asset and create new diversified jobs along the LA waterfront that will bolster the remainder of the waterfront that we are developing from a visitor serving aspect, and also bolster our cargo industry to help with different technologies and innovation that will allow that business to grow over time. The restated lease really delivers 4 things for us: an expedited development completion date. We have certain aspects of this being developed within the next 2 years, and we look forward to that completion following hopeful approval of this lease. Increased public access, which is extremely important to the port. Equal scope of public benefit and programs, so there will be no diminishment in that, and equal potential for economic activity at the site.
Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Mike and Jean, for your presentation. Before we call for a vote, I do want to recognize the Executive Director of AltaSea, Jenny Crusoe, who's here. Jenny has been a champion in this project since we launched this. She is working hand in hand with a number of our philanthropic community members. Thank you so much. And I do want to recognize also Wallace Annenberg and the Annenberg Foundation for believing in this project from the beginning stages. And also Mayor Garcetti, who has also embraced AltaSea and has directed his port director to move forward. And anytime, as Jenny, we're looking for shovels. We want shovels in the ground, and this restated lease terms will do just that, as you heard from Mike earlier. Huge game changer for the waterfront community of San Pedro and Wilmington, and looking forward also to breaking ground come this fall. Also want to recognize our federal government partners as well through the EDA grant that will help build out some of those piers, and looking forward to continuing the effort here and breaking ground on sometime this fall. Again, thank you so much for your presentation, and ask for an aye vote. Thank you, Mr.
I'd like
President.
to, before we
Yeah.
vote, Mr. Buscaino, I'd like to recognize Mr. Mitchell Englander.
Thank you.
So I wanted to just say something. You recognized a lot of people, Joe, and thanked a lot of different players that were involved in this. This is so cool. We're going to have a waterfront campus. I think you called it Blue Tech. And you think about all of the environmentalists, the engineers, how much can be learned out of this campus and shared. But Joe, this would not be happening if you were not the catalyst to make this happen. You know, we've heard for so many years all of the ideas and concepts of not just the waterfront revitalization, building a phenomenal campus where we can bring so many different folks together to learn. I mean, I remember growing up as a kid in the Valley and taking the bus on field trips to the port, and certainly over many, many years hearing about these visions that just didn't really always seem to come together. And Joe, I know since you've been here, this has really been more than a vision, but an implementation plan. And I think it's really, really cool that you're doing this, and I'm glad we're all behind it. I think it's a phenomenal investment, and it benefits the entire region, and not just the 15th district, but even the Valley. And because I know that kids today will be going down there on their field trips and learning and getting more involved and engaged. So it's a great opportunity, and I thank you for it.
Okay, thank you. Let's prepare to vote on this item. Let's open the roll, close the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
And Mr. President, there's been a request to send that item forthwith.